Everybody, what's going on? So today in this video we're going to talk about crappie and bluegill. They're kind of multi-species. That was weird. Felt like something fell on my hand. But anyway, we're going to talk about multi-species baits, but we're mainly going to be talking about stuff that works really well for crappie. So I had a comment in my giveaway video asking to do some crappie fishing baits, to talk about all the crappie fishing baits that I make here at Doc's Lure Company. So I thought, why not just bring out all the baits that have caught a crappie from Doc's Lure Company. So that's what we're doing. So what we're going to do here is we're going to talk about each bait and each color. I actually made, and I kind of don't tell my dad, but I actually stole some out of his tackle box because he's a big crappie, bluegill, bass fisherman. He kind of fishes for anything that'll bite. And I kind of stole some of the stuff out of his tackle box to show you guys. I'll put it back, but, you know, had to steal some out of his tackle box to show you. So we got, hang on, 1, 2, 3, 4 different styles of baits that I make here at Doc's Lure Company that have caught a crappie and bluegill and bass. They've caught all 3 of these baits that are up here on this table have caught fish already this year. So we will talk about them one at a time. So first thing we're going to talk about is the biggest bait out of them all. Now, I haven't had this bait for a whole long time, but when I did first come out with it, my dad took some, and they were actually in, not this color, they were actually in the green pumpkin, but I didn't have a green pumpkin one. I might actually, hang on a minute. I'm going to take this one here off this jig just to show you guys. This one right here, green pumpkin, 3-inch curly tail grub. Now, it looks like it's too big for a crappie to eat, but I tell you what, crappie will eat this thing. Green pumpkin, believe it or not, now, I literally have, each bait is green pumpkin. There's one of them in green pumpkin. That's because for some weird reason, everybody has always said pink, black, white, purple, all these crazy colors like pink, chartreuse, black, and all that. Everybody says that those are the best crappie colors, but for us here around where we live, which is middle of nowhere, Illinois, green pumpkin, white and red, or some sort of a clear or gray seems to be the best. But I have all the colors up here, and I'll show you guys them here in a second. But green pumpkin 3-inch grub was able to get not only a couple bass, but also a decent crappie, about maybe a 10-inch crappie the last time we went fishing. I don't think it was the last time, I think it was the time before that. But that guy right there was able to catch a big old crappie, one of the bigger crappie of the day, of that day anyway. You can get these 3-inch grubs. There's a pack of 8, whatever color you want. Green pumpkin was the color that we caught that fish on, green pumpkin magic. My dad caught that fish with that same color and everything right there. Next, we're going to talk about the next biggest bait, which is the 2-inch Doc's Lure Company swimmer. So this one here is in crystal shad. This here is actually just clear shad because it has no flake in it. But you can add whatever flake you want. Blue, white, silver, green, and purple. This here is just plain. You can actually, like, I actually took one of the baits that I made. This one right here, I'll show you guys this one. I made this earlier today. This is the slugger worm Ned rig bait in the clear shad. And I actually put it on a piece of newspaper and was able to read full sentences through the bait. It's that clear. So that's pretty cool. That's what I like about these baits here. They're completely clear. You can literally read newspapers through the bait. But that crystal shad, personally, the best luck that I've had is with the green or purple flake. For some reason, they bite that more than the blue, white, or silver. But it just kind of depends on where you're fishing. You know, if you got a lot of just plain old shad and they don't really have any different colors to them, then you can just throw either the plain crystal shad or maybe with like a silver flake or something. But me personally, I've had the best luck with crappie, bluegill, and bass with either green or purple. And I've also had a pretty good amount of luck fishing for bluegill with the blue flake in the 1.5, which we'll talk about that here in a second. Next, 2-inch swimmer is green pumpkin. Now, I wasn't able to make the video on that day just because it was too windy. Both of the weekends that we went up there to fish, it was just super duper windy, and we couldn't get a good video even if we tried. So I took a bunch of pictures and I posted them up on Facebook. If you're friends with me on Facebook, you probably would have seen them. But me, my mom, my dad, we all went up and we slayed the crap out of crappie, bluegill, and bass on this bait right here. This is the only thing they would bite that whole day, was a 2-inch green pumpkin swimmer on a small little jig head. And I actually have the same setup right here. Green pumpkin magic 2-inch swimmer on a little jig head. That's what they were biting. And they just kept biting it. We ended up catching almost a full dozen of crappie that day between the three of us, which for around here, with as finicky as the bite is sometimes, especially getting into the later fall, it can be pretty hard to get on a really good bite like that, and we got on a pretty good bite. Next, the old minnow gray color. The minnow gray was a discontinued color, but before I discontinued it, I actually caught a couple crappie on this color in the 2-inch swimmer. Personally, I like that 2-inch swimmer in this color. My dad, he likes the 1.5 in this color. He's caught a couple crappie on that. Mainly bluegill and small bass, though. But the 2-inch swimmer was a pretty good bait in that minnow gray color. This is actually the same bait that I caught my very first bass ever out of a kayak. If you guys have not seen that video, it's been a long time since that happened, but you guys can go back and find that. My first ever bass out of a kayak was with this bait right here. Little 2-inch swimmer in the minnow gray color. Next, this is the Daredevil color. Now this is a really cool color. It's white back with a white tail, but it has this red belly on the bottom, the blood red belly, and that right there will make those fish go wild. And I say fish not because it only catches crappie like some of the other baits, which I've only caught crappie with, but this here will catch everything. I've caught big bluegill, I've caught big crappie, I've caught big bass. My dad, he had me make, when I first came out with this color, he had me make, like, I think he had 4 packs or 3 packs of these made for me, or from me. He wanted a bunch of these made, and he's been catching the crap out of fish with them. Me, personally, I don't throw the Daredevil color a whole lot. I have here recently, when I've seen that they do work and I started fishing a little bit more, I realized they do work. But, my opinion, he loves the things. He has caught a crap load of fish with them. There was one day he caught 2 big bluegill, like I'm talking monster bluegill, 2 crappie, and I think 3 or 4 bass that day, all standing in one little spot throwing that bait on a little jig head. And he was catching them. He caught quite a few that day on the little 2-inch swimmer in the Daredevil color with that little red belly. Next, we're going to talk about the little 2-inch DS minnow, as I like to call it, DS minnow, but it's actually the 2-inch drop shot minnow. But this one here is in white. That has caught a couple crappie. Basically, how I like to fish it is with a light jig head and a light cork. Maybe one a little bit bigger than this, but basically you just sit there and you hop it up and down on that little cork, slip cork, whatever, and that thing right there will definitely catch some fish. And if you rig it up on a jig head just by itself and you swim it, that tail, with it being as wide as it is, but it's still thin, it has a very subtle little swimming action to it, unlike the 2-inch swimmer, which has a big boot tail. It has a very subtle shiver back and forth and definitely catches the big fish. I've caught some pretty good bass on this as well, just kind of dropping it down. Something else I love doing with this bait, you can do this for crappie, bass, bluegill, whatever bites. You can take it with a jig head and just drop it straight down off of a dock and just sit there and kind of hold it. And every once in a while you just kind of give it a little pop. And that bait will flutter up and down. And I tell you what, any fish that eats minnows will come out of the woodworks for this thing. This here's the white color. A couple other of my favorite colors. The crystal shad. This here is the just plain clear. It doesn't have any flake. Awesome bait right there. Green pumpkin. You can't never go wrong with green pumpkin magic. It is the most natural color, in my opinion, for catching a lot of different kinds of fish, especially minnow profile baits. I love the green pumpkin color because it kind of mimics a little green minnow, that natural looking, and in kind of a muddier, more of a stained water, that bait right there will definitely get you bit with them crappies and bluegill. Next is, just like I showed you in the 2-inch swimmer, the Daredevil color. Red belly with a white back and a white tail. That right there will definitely catch the fish as well. Something else I like to do with this bait I didn't even talk about that. But this one here is more for bluegill and bass. Haven't caught any crappie doing this, but I'm sure if you get the right bite, you could. This one here takes a lot of patience. You have to have a ton of patience to fish it like this. But luckily for me, when I'm bass fishing and stuff, I love fishing slow. I love fishing fast. I love fishing any type that gets me bit. But what I like to do with that is, what I like doing with that is taking it and just fishing it super duper slow on a jig head on the bottom. Just kind of pop it up every once in a while, just let it sit on the bottom. And it looks like a little injured minnow, and then when you pop it up, it kind of flutters and then it slowly falls back down. That tail kind of kicks a little bit. And it has an awesome action when you're just kind of popping it up off the bottom. And I've caught some pretty good bass doing that, and I've also caught a monster bluegill, a couple monster bluegill actually. Also, when you're bluegill bed fishing, this bait right here, you fish it just like it is right here with a little bitty jig head or a little bluegill hook, weightless. I tell you what, bluegill on beds will come out and crush that thing. I've had one, I mean, it thumped like a bass. I hooked it like it was a bass and brought it straight up out of the water because I thought maybe I hooked a bass that was hanging out on the edge of the bluegill bed, but it wasn't. It was a bluegill, and man, did he thump that thing. Okay, next, final bait. This is the last bait that we've caught crappie on here from Doc's Lure Company, and in my opinion, probably one of my favorite baits overall from Doc's Lure Company. It has to be up there with the 2-inch swimmer and the, well, all of them. I love all the baits. Anything that gets me to catch fish, I like the bait. But this one here is up there, at least in the top 3 for sure, 100%, and that is the 1.5 swimmer. So this one here is Green Pumpkin Magic. You guys know Green Pumpkin Magic is a killer color. Another killer color is the Crystal Shad. You guys seen me fish this bait a while back, and I was actually able to pick up a pretty good little, probably about 12, 13-inch bass on video with that bait. I've caught a crap load of bluegill. We'll go ahead and tell that little quick story here. I've told it before, but why not? So what I did one day, this was actually the first day that I had this bait made. This was the whole story. It was the first 2 days I ever had it designed and stuff. I took this one right here, this color, Green Pumpkin Magic, little 2-inch, or the 1.5 swimmer, and went out to my pond, rigged it up on a small jig head, thinking, okay, we'll see how the action is. Fish probably won't bite because it was like middle of the day. I mean, it was hot. Like, I'm talking probably close to the hundreds degrees. And I was like, man, I don't think the fish are going to bite, but we'll see what happens. So I cast it out there, hits the water, probably maybe 10-foot cast. Sitting there, and I'm just slow rolling it through. And I just get it to where I can see it just under the surface, probably about maybe 3 inches. And I'm watching that tail just kicking back and forth, and all of a sudden I just see this big old flash. And I hooked a bluegill, and it was a green sunfish bluegill hybrid. And very first cast I caught that fish, which was awesome. I loved the fact that I was able to catch a fish on my very first cast with this brand new bait. And I was like, wow, that was pretty darn quick. So I was like, all right, well, I don't want to stand out here and sweat to death. So I went ahead back in the house and started making a bunch more. And I started making the Crystal Shad color, which is color just like this one here. But I put blue flake in it. You guys have seen the blue flake. I'll actually, now I know I have one up here. I know I have one. Or at least I knew I had one. Unless somebody took it off of my desk, which is a possibility. Hang on one second. There it is, right there. So it looks similar to this right here. This one here actually has a little bit of silver flake, but it looks like that right there. It's clear with a bit of blue flake in the plastic. That's what it was. A little 1.5, just like this, with a little blue flake. And I went out there. This was the next day. I went out there, was thinking, okay, maybe I'll pick up a few bluegill, post them on Facebook, or maybe I'll make a bluegill video. Then I realized I didn't have my phone with me, so I wasn't able to make a video. But anyway, cast it out there, was sitting there slow rolling it, nothing on the first cast. Second cast, caught one, little decent bluegill. Third cast, missed one. Fourth cast, caught one. And probably in a matter of 25 to 30 minutes, I was able to catch 13 bluegill on the little 1.5 with blue flake. and then I went out and was able to catch a bass just before dark on that same exact bait. I actually only used one bait the entire day. I caught 13 bluegill and one bass on just one little 1.5. That's it. Never changed, never had to redo the bait, never had to, well, I mean, I had to redo it on the hook because sometimes they would pull it down, but never had to change out the bait. I used the same bait for 14 fish total, one small bass, and 13 bluegill, which was pretty wild. Okay, next. Oh, I almost caught it. Next color. Now, these two colors here aren't personal favorites, but they're my dad's favorite two colors for bluegill, crappie, bass, and the 1.5, and that is the pink with purple flake and the white color. He's caught quite a few bluegill on this pink color. I personally don't use the pink color. I prefer something like the green pumpkin or the crystal shad, but he prefers the pink with purple flake and the white. So, how you can buy these baits, you can go down in the description. There should be an email. If there's not, comment down below and let me know. If there isn't one in the description, let me know that you want some. These baits, go ahead and go through the prices and how much you get in each pack here in just a second. But each pack is $4, and I'll go ahead and tell you here in a second how many comes in each pack, but they're $4 each. You can buy them with PayPal. I just got to thinking, PayPal is a little bit more of a safer way to buy the baits and all that. There is no shipping fees, and there is no color difference fees or anything like that. They're all $4 a pack, just straight across. No fees, no changes in price, nothing like that. They're all $4 a pack for each pack. So we'll go ahead and go through. The 3-inch grub, you get 8 a pack for $4. Great bait right there. Next, the 2-inch swimmer. I'm just going to show you my personal favorite colors here. The green pumpkin is this one here. The 2-inch swimmer is what this one here is. You can get 15 of these in each pack for $4. Next, the 2-inch swimmer. This one here is from Crystal Shad. 2-inch, or excuse me, this is the 2-inch DS minnow, drop shot minnow. You can get also 15 of these in each pack. And then the 1.5, which personal favorite up there in the top for sure. The 1.5 swimmer, you can get 20 of these in a pack for $4. Also, I featured this. If you guys want some of these slugger worms, Ned rig baits, these come 15 in a pack for $4. Okay, so all the colors, we're going to go ahead and fire off through each color and each flake. Now, there is a little bit of a warning. With the crystal shad, the red flake does not work in the crystal shad. The reason why is the light bouncing off of the red flake makes the whole bait look red. It doesn't make it look crystal shad anymore. It just makes it look red. But all the other colors of the glitter work fine. Flake colors you can get besides the crystal shad and the red, don't do that combination. But any other combination does work. You can put the red in the green pumpkin. You can put the red in the black or whatever you want to do. Color combinations you can do, or colors that you can do. Green pumpkin, white, black, neon pink, which is this color here. Chicken liver, which if you guys did not get to see that color, it looks like that right there. Chicken liver root beer, which I actually have a bait right here in root beer, I think. Nope, that's not root beer. Okay, I guess I don't. You can get root beer, chicken liver, transparent red, which is just a little bit more of a see-through red. And then you get blood red, which the blood red, you guys can see that in the belly of the bait here. The electric blue, which is an awesome color as well. Crystal shad, which I've showed you guys here. June bug, and cricket brown. Cricket brown kind of looks like that right there. So, the flakes you can get red, blue, white, silver, purple, and green. But once again, I want to stress this. The red and the crystal shad doesn't work. I don't want I probably just won't let you buy those because it doesn't really make it look right. The red kind of reflects off the light and then makes the whole plastic look red. It doesn't look right. So don't buy that. That's kind of a given there. But the silver, white, blue, green, and purple are perfect in them. Personal favorites is green or purple or both. And blue also works pretty good as well. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you guys want to buy any of these, let me know down in the comments or email me the PayPal money, and make sure you leave what you're wanting and a place where I can send it. Yeah. Thank you guys for watching once again. Bye.